Hello everyone and welcome to today's exhibition of the schema. Today we are going to be covering just the new attribute system that we implemented, and I just want to apologize in advance for my lisp. I had a car accident a year ago, so now I kind of talk funny. So that being said, let's get right into this. So our new attribute system is kind of straightforward. This is an older character from one of my earlier tests, but essentially we now have different attributes. So we have agility, which is how fast you can go. There's culinary, so that's a crafting skill basically. It's how you can cook. Later on, when we have an advanced cooking system, then that'll actually affect if you give someone food poisoning, etc., etc. Endurance, that's damage, engineering, intelligence, crafting skills. Medical, right now it has no practical use, but when we have the medical system, then it'll be a very important thing because, excuse me, because it'll be going from determining whether or not you can heal someone who's got a gashed wound and whatnot. So it makes that stat very important once we have that actual system made. In regards to the medical system, we're aiming to have it completed by the start of the alpha. We have stamina, that's your usual, how long can you run, jump, etc. Strength, your usual, how much damage can you deal when you're punching someone, and weapon proficiency. So what we did with weapon proficiency, or we're going to rename it to weapons in a later build, is basically it affects your recoil. So as an example of how our dynamic skill gain works, I've turned up the skill gain substantially, because how we're going to have it in the server is we're going to have it as a, how do you say, as a thousandth basically, and it's configurable by the super administration team or just administration team. If I go here and type XP, you can see that I've turned it up all the way, but by default it's at like right there, 1,000. So it's relatively hard, and you do need ammunition to do it. So we've tried to make it as exploit proof as we can, but obviously with a system that allows for a skill gain without the use of a skill book, so something that's a bit more dynamic in character progression, obviously that's going to be a bit more challenging. And in situations where you may have to shoot to RP, for example, that's a situation where, like, let's say you do a slash me and you're shooting at your friend. Well, obviously you're going to still be shooting the ground. Later on, we're going to change that system to be damage dealt rather than just bullets fired. But for now, we're keeping it to bullets fired just because that's a lot simpler than damage dealt, and it's also easier on the server. So that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and shoot a few rounds here just to show you guys that it actually works. And this is the old one, working on getting the new one in. So as you can see, it went up from 17 to 38. If I were to reload and continue firing, we're now at 43. So just to show you what character creation looks like right now, because we still have the default Helix menu, we're not planning on getting a UI till halfway through the beta, just because that's not really an important thing for us right now. What is important for us is to get the new systems in, and to slowly bring in those flavorful systems like the new UI and all that. Once we have all of that, then it'll truly be this big dynamic experience for you guys. So here we're just going to make a guy, we're going to call him Mike Schlong. Going to put a description of Oscar Kool-Aid is inferior to Mike Schlong. Just random whatever. And one thing I was going to show to you guys, but we had to pull it out because right now it's a little buggy, is we have a language system in the server. So before, how it worked is you would have to do like /UA/FR, and then you would type whatever you want, and then it would say to everyone in chat either so-and-so says such and such in such language, or you can't understand this. How it works now, is, and I'll show it to you in a bit, is there's a little chat box next to the actual chat box, or not a little chat box, a little square. You click on that, and it'll change what language your character is speaking. And to your character, it'll just appear as normal text. So it'll say, like, hi, my name is Mike Schlong. But to other characters, in the example of English, it'll appear as, like, Githrop, Didop, whatever. And then next to your name, it'll show an image of a flag, so that way people know that you're not just an actual foreigner in the server. So this is our usual attribute system. And how this works is it's the usual Fallout style, 50, 50, 50 all across. Now I bet you're thinking, well, I want to make a character as good with guns. Low recoil, shoot to kill mayhem, all that beauty. So I'm going to try to, or not do that. Sorry, wrong skill. So you know what? I don't really need a medical skill. That's kind of cringe. I'm gonna get rid of that. Why can't I get rid of it? What the hell? So a new limiting factor we've done to kind of make it a bit more realistic to the Metro and also try to prevent that player spam. Because it is still possible, just to a more hindering degree. So before you just have to dump like maybe 2 or 3 points and then you can max out a skill. Whereas in this case, there's a minimum of 30, we can change that to 40 if we wanted to. And we decided to implement that just so that way we could have a more balanced character arc for everybody. But also, because like, we feel that it's more realistic if characters have some skill in every hand. Like, it's a Metro. You're not, if you survive for 20 years, obviously you know a little bit of everything. That being said, though, it is still possible to make a balanced character. Like, if you want to have, you know, high endurance, for example, you can go ahead, have high endurance, have high medical. Like, it still makes that substantially possible, and we're trying to make it so that you can have better characters that are more beefy than before. So before, a lot of the characters were still following that Half-Life 2 roleplay format, whereas now we want to actually show these are people who have survived. You can still make a balanced character with this. In later builds, we're going to make it so that it can't do the overflow like it just did, so you can only take out so many points. But this is just currently the first build of the attribute system. We're not planning on changing that till later on in the beta when we get to actually balancing out all of our things. So now that we have our lovely friend here, actually we're going to go back, load Oscar Kool-Aid because he's better. He's cooler. Oh yeah, I'm working. Oh yeah, I have no crafting skill. Right. Okay. Well, the other system that I wanted to show you, but I forgot because this is an older version of the character, is you do get XP on crafting. So we already added in a hook that's called onCraft. You probably saw it when I went to my config menu and I showed you the XP. We do get skill for it, and this one will be a 10th or a 100th. We're not sure of where we're going to keep it yet. And we can also change this for individual skill points, how much XP you gain. So that way, like, we can have a flat rate or we can have a custom rate. So that affects that rate that we've already put in the file. So right now they're all at 0.1. But later on, we're probably going to change it. So like engineering is more like 0.3, etc., etc. And eventually changing it so that actual recipes have an impact on your XP. We also had a skill book that I wanted to show you, but the skill books were a little iffy. They kind of created a script error with crafting, so we don't want to implement that at this time. Later on, we're planning on having it, and they'll be single-use items, so you can't just hoard them and then constantly reuse them. But what we may do as well is we may also have them as multi-use items, but only you can use it once. So like if you use it once, you can still give it to someone else, but then they have to, and then like you can sell it. So that way it makes a bit more of a diverse economy. Otherwise, though, that's all I really had for today's showcase. I just wanted to quickly thank everyone for their continued support. And I'll probably have some more to show in a couple weeks here because right now we are just working hard on getting the models done for the Iron Guard. And we're also working hard on getting the guns done. Because we have a lot of work to do with these guys. But otherwise, thank you guys for joining me today. And until next time, I hope to see you again. Ciao.